Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is Ship Updates, and today on a very special ship update we are going to be talking about this ship here, the Caterpillar. Now for those of you that don't know, the ship showdown is going on right now and the Caterpillar is once again up for sale. And this raises a very interesting question. Should you get the Caterpillar? Now, I think that it's fair that when you talk about the Caterpillar, you have to also mention its closest rival, which is the C2 Hercules. Now, the M2 and the A2 are militarized variants, which have less cargo capacity, but I think that in the civilian market, and broadly speaking, this is the closest competitor to the Caterpillar. And it does have greater cargo carrying capacity. Now, when this ship first initially showed up, the initial price on this was $300. It has since gone up slightly to $360, which I believe would be the current standalone price for this ship. It does carry more cargo slightly. I believe the Caterpillar is 576 and this is 630, or no, it's less. Well, between 620 and 630. In terms of SCU carrying capacity. You can of course look that up and get the finer numbers. Now initially at $5 more, this was a very interesting competitor. There are certain features though that are unique to the Starlifter. The Starlifter can carry heavy tanks. It can also carry the ballista, which the Caterpillar cannot. The Caterpillar opens different doors, and quite literally speaking. Along the hull of the Caterpillar, as you can see here, it has this long protrusion in the front. That is where the cargo is kept. There are doors on either side of each one of those cargo pods that allow you to open up. So the Caterpillar might be faster to load cargo from. So if you have more piratical leanings, shall we say, in the future, this might be a really good ship to kind of loot and scoot with, whereas something like the Hercules is meant for much more conventional, cargo carrying. Also, the cargo pods on the Caterpillar can be interchanged with other modules. Now, none of this has ever materialized in Star Citizen, and besides a very basic and very early rendering of what this could look like 4 years ago, we have not seen hide nor hair of any development on future modules for the Caterpillar. So I think that that is a system that we can talk about theoretically, but is not something that we're going to see materialize anytime soon. So to kind of, you can't really quantify the value of potential future modules realistically. I mean, that is still something that is way up in the air. What are they going to be? How much are they going to cost? Where can you get them? How difficult are they going to be to implement? When will they make it into the game? These are all very big questions. I think that probably the central question is really, for a lot of people who own the Hercules, they're looking at their loaner ship, which is the horrifyingly terrible, Starfarer Gemini, and they're thinking like, oh my god, but Caterpillar's there. I can make money now with the Caterpillar. Caterpillar now. That's, once again, that's not a very easy thing to kind of dismiss, because yeah, Caterpillar is available now and we can make money with the Caterpillar now, but is that money permanent? We don't really know. Is CIG going to take all the money back at some point and say we need to do a reset? We don't know. Are they going to say, well, you get to keep a portion of it up to a certain amount? We don't know. Or are they just going to let us keep all of it? We don't know. So once again, that's a difficult thing to say, oh yeah, but if you get the Caterpillar, you can make all this money now. Maybe, maybe not, right? Another thing to think about is that, yeah, if you own a C2 Hercules, you're thinking, well, Caterpillar now. The Hercules is not that far off. Recently, CIG showed us some beautifully rendered images and videos of the C2 Hercules in development, in production right now. So are we likely to see this very, very soon? It's possible that within the year, owners of the C2 Hercules will see their ship in game. And I don't think that this is a ship that is going to slip, because one of the big things that, one of the big kind of fumbles that CIG made recently was in releasing the Ballista, which was the large anti-air tank. They didn't account for the fact that there was no vehicle that could actually transport the Ballista to any relevant point in the Star Citizen universe. So yeah, you could go to Shubin or Arcorp mining or wherever in the universe and pull out a Ballista, but then what are you going to do with it there, right? CIG kind of wants to correct that mistake, and so I think that the Hercules is going to carry through to completion. Like, this isn't going to be a ship like that they shelve at some point. It would have to be a pretty big emergency for them to kind of set this one aside. So I think that given the status of the ship that we've seen so far in terms of production, if you own a Starlifter, it's probably better to just kind of wait it out. The money thing is highly dubious. There's some people who are like, oh no, we're gonna get to keep it all. I highly doubt it. I think that, for me, my opinion is that at some point they're just going to name a cutoff amount, and they're just going to cut everyone who exceeded that amount back to that amount. So there is probably going to be a fair sense of progression out of this term of gameplay, but I don't think that it is going to be world breaking. And if you have the Starfarer Gemini, you're not that bad off in terms of cargo carrying. I mean, if you work on value rather than volume, I don't think you're going to be suffering for that much longer in terms of competitiveness. So if you do own the C2 Hercules, I'd say stick it out, especially if in the future you're thinking about much more civilian applications for the ship rather than combative applications. I think that the C2 Hercules is the much more solid choice. I think it's obviously going to be the more resilient of the two ships in terms of damage absorption potential. I think that it is going to be a fantastic ship. I mean, it's listed as a crew of 1 to 2, so it's a very solid buy. And if I wasn't a player who had some more nefarious leanings in the Star Citizen universe, I would probably have upgraded to a C2 Hercules. But, I'm banking on the potential of future modules on this ship, and the fact that it's built to load cargo very quickly, and it is a fairly fast ship. I think out of the two, I think it's more than obvious that the Caterpillar is going to be the faster of the two ships. It's not going to be the most resilient. It's arguably going to be fairly equal in terms of armament, though once again that is something that could change. But yeah, in the end it depends on what you're going to use it for. Now, should you buy a Caterpillar now? If you're buying it straight cash, 24 months insurance, I'd say hold out for the anniversary sale, and you're going to get it with what, 11 years of in-game playtime insurance. Now, 2 years of in-game playtime insurance, some people might say, oh, that's not a lot. Well, it's in-game playtime, remember. It's not real-world time, it is in-game playtime. And to give you an idea of comparison, I did a slash played on my Rogue and came up with 240 days, and I've been playing that character since 2007. I've skipped a couple of expansions, but that hasn't even accounted for half of what that insurance would be in the Star Citizen universe. And I am kind of a degenerate WoW player, a little bit. So if you have to have a Caterpillar now, and you want to make that money and you feel that you're missing out, it's not the worst thing that you can do, but I would say that it is not the smart play. I think the smart play, if you're going to pay straight cash, is to wait until the anniversary sale, Or, I mean, if you are a player who has a cheaper ship with LTI and you're just going to CCU into it and you're like, yeah, I want that cargo ship. I think it's going to be a good cargo ship. I think it is a solid cargo ship. It's not the Pirate Edition, but that's just cosmetic. So far, we've seen no practical difference between the two. So, is that something that can materialize in the future? I don't think that CIG is going to do that. I think that they're just going to make it a cosmetic feature of the ship, and there's going to be no practical value to having the Pirate Edition over the straight up Kovalex branded edition. So, which, by the way, is so weird that it just says Kovalex down the side, but I think that ultimately that is a stand-in for a more generic Caterpillar in the future, but, you know, neither here nor there. Overall, I think that if you're doing that and you want to get a Caterpillar and you want to start flipping cargo, you know, in far greater volumes, it's a solid ship. It has advantages over hull ships because by virtue of how it loads cargo, it can land in many more landing places, and it can land in much more tricky areas while carrying cargo. Though there are some limitations to a ship the size of the Caterpillar, they aren't so broad as to be really constraining. Ships like the Hercules and ships like the Caterpillar, I think, are going to be, for a lot of players, their main cash earner and their bread and butter. And I think that even with many of the limitations that I've discussed of the Caterpillar over the years, there's a reason why I still own the Caterpillar and why it represents my core game package. It's because even with all these limitations and even with certain shortcomings and the fact that yes, there are some bugs with it, and yes, there are features like the elevators and whatnot for the cargo areas that are not implemented, the tractor beams are not here yet, yada yada yada, I still think that it is a damn fine ship. I'm always going to argue for a little bit more, but it is still a damn fine ship, and that's why it represents my core game package. So if you can bump up another LTI ship into it and you're thinking about it, I think that it's a solid ship if you're doing it on credit. If you're doing it for straight cash, I'd say hold out until the anniversary sale. But ultimately, you are walking away with a damn good ship, and it flies beautifully. For the size that it is, it flies fantastically. It is a great ship. It is a step up from the Cutlass in certain regards, and if you like the Cutlass, I think you will definitely like the Caterpillar. It is a ship that has enough of its features and enough of its functions implemented not only in itself but in the game as well, that it is a powerhouse for making money in the current Star Citizen universe, and rarely a disappointment.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.